Hey, Gucci Maniacs, welcome back to episode 3 of Baseball Hall of Fame Snubs. This is the third and final part to this. If any of the people that I've mentioned in the last several videos make it into the Hall of Fame, I will redo the list and replace them with other people. If you missed the other two videos, I laid out the parameters of what I was doing for the parts. I started with the 10 teams I disliked the most in part 1, which was the Yankees, Red Sox, Braves, Dodgers, Giants, Brewers, A's, Rockies, Mariners, and Tigers. And the second part, I had teams that I could either take or leave, which was the Baltimore Orioles, the Marlins, the Rays, the White Sox, the Blue Jays, the Indians, the Cubs, the Twins, the Pirates, and the Cardinals. So today I'm doing the last 10 teams. The other parameter was guys like Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, Jose Canseco, Igor, what's his name? Alex Rodriguez, Pedro whatever his name is. I can't think of his name right now. I'm drawing a blank. But you know who I'm talking about. The guys that were Palmeiro. That's who I was thinking of. Guys like that were, and Roger Clemens, guys like that were steroid users. I purposely left their names off because of the steroid issue. And another thing is, not all these people that I have on this list, but most of these guys have a wins above replacement, a WAR higher than Harold Baines, who the Veterans Committee put in a few years ago. And I think most of these guys on here, I believe, should have gone in before Chipper Jones. I'm not saying Chipper Jones didn't deserve to be in. He deserved every bit to go into the Hall of Fame, but I think these guys should have gone in before him. And also, I believe these guys were more worthy than Andrew Jones, who just went in this year. Episode 2, I already told you who all I covered there. Now, I do have one honorable mention. I could have mentioned him for the Braves. I could have mentioned him for the Cardinals. And I could have used him for the Phillies and the Royals. But I didn't. And that's Lonnie Smith, because Lonnie Smith, he won a World Series ring with 3, if not all. I believe he won one with all 4. Even though Wikipedia says he wasn't part of the Braves team that won the World Series, I believe he was part of that Braves team. I'm almost sure of it. And Wikipedia might got it wrong. But he did win one in 80 with the Phillies. He won a World Series in 82 with the Cardinals, won a World Series in 85 with the Royals. So now, 2 of the guys on today's list are guys that are not in the Hall of Fame because of their political views, which I think is wrong to keep them out because of political reasons. You have other people who are politically the same way as them in the Hall of Fame. So let's start today's list off with the first team on my list, the number 10 team out of the top 10 teams, or out of the 10 teams that I like the most. San Diego Padres, I got Steve Garvey. And Steve Garvey is one of those guys on here that I believe has been denied the Hall of Fame because of his political views. And I believe he's more than worthy of a Hall of Fame plaque. I put him down for the San Diego Padres because if you go back and you remember, if you go back and watch my video of what I did for the Dodgers, who I picked for the Dodgers, you'll see why. For the California Angels. And it's odd because the Angels, I had a lot of people I could pick for the Angels. And this guy, I could have put him in just about anywhere, and that's Tommy Johns. Not because of the surgery or anything like that. He put up some very good numbers earlier on in his career before all the shoulder injuries. I mean, he done some great work with the Dodgers. He did some tremendous work earlier on in his career with the Yankees. Like I said, one of those guys who should be in the Hall of Fame, but he's not in there. I believe he should be. Now, I did not put the Nationals in here as the Nationals. If I did, they would have been in the first video with the first 10 teams. I got them down as the Montreal Expos. But before we get to that, we'll have to cover the Diamondbacks, which I just recently started, since I moved out here to Arizona, become a fan of the Diamondbacks. This guy was listed as one of the Giants' best players not in the Hall of Fame. He didn't put up great numbers for the Diamondbacks, but I had to pick somebody for the Diamondbacks. So I picked him, and that's Matt Williams. Now for the Montreal Expos. Now, this guy, I could have picked him for the Tigers. I could have picked him for the Mets, which is the next team on the list. But I picked him for the Expos. And I honestly believe this guy is the most overlooked and underrated guy in all of baseball history, and that's Rusty Staub. Rusty Staub had one of the longest careers in baseball. And even the Veterans Committee should at least look at him and say, yeah, we should put old Rusty in the Hall of Fame. For the Mets, this is a guy I could have picked for the Cardinals, and that's Keith Hernandez. Trying to find a New York Met that should be in the Hall of Fame was kind of hard for me, but Keith Hernandez is definitely one of the top guys that should be in there. For the Houston Astros, the Houston Astros is one of those teams where I just looked at it and to see who their top 5 not in the Hall of Fame but should be in Hall of Famers are according to certain pages on the internet. So I got Jose Cruz. Now for the Phillies is another guy I believe is left out because of his political beliefs. I could have picked him for the Red Sox, but it wouldn't have been fair if I did because Dwight Evans does deserve it, and Dwight Evans did play for the Red Sox more than he did any other team. I could have picked this guy for the Diamondbacks, but I wanted to pick him for the Phillies because I needed a Philly. And he's very few people remember his time in, well, unless you count his performance in the World Series for the Diamondbacks and his performance in the World Series for the Red Sox. He's more remembered for those than his time as a Philly, but I wanted to pick him as a Philly, and that's, again, a guy I believe is left out because of his political views, and that's Curt Schilling. Now I'm down to my top 3 teams. Now this next guy, it's the Cincinnati Reds. If you've seen my videos, you've followed me for a long time, you know exactly who I'm going to say for the Reds. And y'all know that if I was doing this in the order of how much I feel that they belong more so than any of the other players, if I was ranking them from this person's more worthy than anyone else, this guy would be number 1 as far as snubs go. He is my number 3 snub on this list because, like I said, I'm doing the teams in the order of from my favorite team, from my least favorite to my favorite. And that's the only reason why he's on my list at number 3. If I was doing it based on how much I feel they belong in the Hall of Fame, he would be number 1. And that's the all-time hit king, Pete Rose, and that should not be no surprise to anybody. I almost demand that Pete Rose go in next year. I demand the Veterans Committee put him in next year, or the people who vote put him in next year. Don't skip over him. Put him in. He deserves it. He belongs there more than anyone on this list, including the guys I excluded because of the steroids. He belongs on there before anybody. And he's not even my all-time favorite player, but I do believe he belongs in there more than anybody. For the Texas Rangers, I had a hard time picking a Ranger. The guy I picked was on the list of the top 5 guys not in the Hall of Fame, but should be by the fan base, anyway, by the Rangers fan base, and that's Kevin Brown. And finally, last but not least, Kansas City Royals. As you know, I'm a huge Kansas City Royals fan. I had a hard time picking a Royal. I could have picked Lonnie Smith, like I said earlier, who I put down as a honorable mention earlier in this video. I could have gone with Brett Saberhagen. I could have gone with Bo Jackson. I could have gone with Willie Wilson, Hal McRae. I could have gone with Frank White. I could have gone with Jim Sundberg. I could have gone with just about anybody of the Royals over the past 20 years. There's even a couple of guys I picked for other teams that had played for the Royals. They didn't play as good for the Royals as they did the teams that I got them down for, like Dale Murphy, for instance, and Johnny Damon. But I could have picked them, but I didn't. The guy I did pick was constantly in the saves leader. It was amongst the leaders of saves with Bruce Sutter and Raleigh Fingers, who are both in the Hall of Fame. This guy, don't know why he's not in there, because he was constantly up there. Sometimes he was leading them too in saves. And that's the one and only Danny Quisenberry. So now you have my list from all 3 lists, all 3 parts of this video, of this series. Like I said, if any of these guys make it into the Hall of Fame, I will revise my list, update it, and put new names on, as some of these names do make it, if they do make it. Leave your comment if you agree with me on any of my picks in any one of these 3 videos. Like and subscribe if you're not subscribed. About 90% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed. And I'm only 42 subscribers away from getting monetized till I reach that magical number of 5. As always, be good to each other. Don't be cruel. And as always, I am the man of the hour, the man of power, too sweet to be sour. Every lady's pet, every man's regret. The sex appeal of Elvis. Leadership qualities of Ronald Reagan. The Hall of Fame potential of George Brett. The style and profiling of the Nature Boy. Woo! Ric Flair, the hardcore heart of Mick Foley. Always right like Rush Limbaugh. And the toughness of Chuck Norris, all rolled into one. THEGOOCH. And see you next time you visit the channel.